A teenager accusing several San Diego State football players of rape speaks for the first time in a CBS 8 exclusive.
The life-saving drug Narcan will soon be available in a vending machine here in the South Bay.
UC San Diego teaching assistants and researchers say they're standing up against bullying on campus.
And is monkeypox a sexually transmitted disease? We verify.
And how this San Diego student's invention could change the world, and winner $25,000.
CBS 8 News live at 6 starts now. It was an emotional day in court as a family of a murdered Camp Pendleton Marine asked the judge to give his killer the maximum sentence. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jesse Pagan in for Marcella Lee.
And I'm Carlo Cicchetto. Ryan Harris died in 2017 while trying to help a fellow Marine during a fight in the Gaslamp District. CBS 8's Kelly Hessedal shows us what happened during today's sentencing.
Well, the victim wasn't even the intended target of this attack. He was a good Samaritan who jumped in to help his friend. Now, Ryan Harris's mother's hands were shaking as she told the judge life without her son has been devastating.
I'm living a life sentence. My baby, my child. I can never bring him back. It hurts so bad. I can't believe it. It's a living nightmare. How dare you took his life? You had no right.
When her son, 21-year-old Ryan Harris, died back in 2017, she says a part of her died too.
My whole world went black. He was 21 years old with a bright future. A Marine serving our country. A smile and laughter that could light up a room. A good Samaritan, a hero. He was ripped away from me and my family.
The man convicted of murdering her son, 41-year-old Jose Oscar Esqueda. Prosecutors say Esqueda and a co-defendant wandered Gaslamp early in the morning, looking for victims to terrorize. They targeted Harris's friend, but Harris was stabbed in the throat as he tried to intervene. Today, Esqueda said this.
I know any amount of apologies or condolences will never take away the pain. I just want to take full responsibility, and be accountable for my actions that led me up to this point.
However, the judge didn't hold back.
The defendant's a cold-blooded killer. That's just fact.
He gave Esqueda the maximum sentence of 40 years to life.
They went out that night not to take people's property, and on 2 other occasions. They didn't care about the property. They care about inflicting fear in other human beings. And if that is not dark, if that is not evil, I don't know what is.
And though Esqueda will spend several years behind bars, he will eventually be eligible for parole. Kelly Hessedal, CBS
8. Sheriff's investigators need your help tonight, catching a man they say who tried to sexually assault a teenage girl. You're looking at new video just released today. The attack happened Tuesday afternoon in the Lincoln Acres area of National City near Prospect Street and Sweetwater Road. Investigators hope someone will recognize the man you see in this surveillance video. He's described as around 18 years old, 5'11", 180 pounds, with short curly hair that touches his ears. Anyone with information should call Crime Stoppers. That number 888-580-8477.
Los Angeles County will not see a new mask mandate for now. It was expected to happen tomorrow after LA County moved into the COVID high-risk level 2 weeks ago. However, the county's health director says there has been a fairly steady decline in cases since July 23rd. San Diego also moved into the high-risk category 2 weeks ago. Our case numbers declined, and we did not see a mask mandate either. A teenager who says she was raped by a group of San Diego State football players during an off-campus party is talking exclusively with CBS 8.
No criminal charges have been filed in the case more than 9 months after the alleged assault. CBS 8's David Goffson talked to the young woman who says she was only 17 when 5 college students raped her in a bedroom during a Halloween party.
I was dressed as a fairy. It was a several-piece costume. It was wings, it was a skirt, it was a top.
The woman who just turned 18 this month asked not to be identified. She claims she was raped by several San Diego State football players inside this house less than a half-mile away from the SDSU campus. She was 17 years old at the time and a senior in high school.
I arrived at the party. I had already been drinking with the friends that I arrived there with, and when I walked into the party, I was approached by someone who then gave me a drink and introduced themselves. I was already very intoxicated.
She told me the man, who she believes was a senior at SDSU, led her into a bedroom where several teammates were waiting. She remembers being thrown down face first on the bed.
In the room, I was in and out of consciousness. It's very hard to piece together the details of what was done to me, but there were several men taking turns basically assaulting me aggressively.
She says the assault lasted about an hour and left her covered in blood.
I stumbled out of the room after the assault and found my friend, who took me outside, and I was bawling my eyes out, and they asked me what happened, and I immediately told them I had just been raped.
The woman told me she reported the assault to San Diego police on Monday, October 18th. The next day, her father also filed a report to San Diego State University Police, but they told him San Diego Police Department was handling the investigation.
I had severe bruising on my neck, all over my body. They took DNA samples of everything. It was a really long process, pictures of all the marks that had been left on me.
Later, San Diego police had the woman telephone the football players who detectives had identified as suspects, and they recorded the telephone calls.
Most of them tried to tell me that it was my fault, that I was at the party, that I wanted it, that I was going around to everyone telling them that I wanted to have sex.
Now those so-called pretext phone calls will be used as evidence as the woman and her attorney, Dan Gillian, prepare to file a lawsuit.
This young woman was trapped inside a room with 5 guys, and she was bloody when she came out. And she told everybody she was raped. So I think that's pretty damning evidence. I think that the pretext calls where the guys either admitted to it or lied, that's pretty damning too.
Now, the question that everyone wants to know is, why haven't criminal charges been filed in this case? What's taking so long? No arrests have been made. Early on, San Diego State said they were asked by San Diego police to leave the investigation to them. San Diego police will not comment on the investigation. The district attorney's office tells us criminal charges have not been handed over to them. So nobody really knows what's going on and why no arrests have been made. But now, 9 months later, that woman I spoke to today is really wondering if criminal charges are ever going to be filed in this case, and she's going ahead with a lawsuit.
These are pretty horrific and specific allegations. The young lady mentioned DNA evidence being collected. What do we know about the DNA evidence from this case?
More frustration. The cops won't tell her what they found from the DNA testing. And so Dan and her attorney is now trying to get that evidence released.
Not a pretty picture. Hope to get more clarity on this. David Goffredson reporting live for us. Thanks, David.
All evacuation warnings are lifted tonight as crews work to make sure the Kasner fire doesn't flare up again east of Ramona. At last check, CAL FIRE tells us the fire has burned 180 acres and is 35% contained. The flames sparked just after noon yesterday between Ramona and Santa Isabel. According to CAL FIRE, it was started by a tractor clearing brush. This is the same area where the Witch Creek fire burned in 2007.
Almost $70 million is on the way to the city of San Diego from the state of California. This afternoon, Mayor Todd Gloria was in Oak Park highlighting how the city plans to use some of that money. It will go toward libraries, parks, and museums throughout the city. The largest portion of funds is being set aside for construction of a new Oak Park library. To get a full list of the projects, you can head to CBS8.com. Tonight, union pharmacists and pharmacy workers are getting ready for the next steps after rejecting a contract offer from their employers. Workers with Ralph's, Vaughn's, Albertsons, and Pavilions say they want better staffing, scheduling, and wages. They demand employers return to the bargaining table and say they could go on strike if they deem it necessary. In the past, a Ralph's spokesperson has said the store is committed to negotiating in good faith, but we haven't heard from any of the stores on this latest development. Some UC San Diego graduate researchers are calling out professors they worked for. The student workers claim their supervisors either verbally or physically threatened them and that the university did nothing. CBS 8's Heather Hope shares their stories and has a response from UC San Diego.
We talked to 3 different academic workers here on campus who gave their personal stories about mistreatment by faculty members they worked for.
I had a supervisor who basically took my hair and put it between a pair of scissors, held an inch away from my face, and said that if I didn't produce any brilliant ideas, he would cut off my hair.
Fourth-year PhD student in computational science Nancy Yuen says the science professor she worked for physically and verbally threatened her 5 years ago. Nancy says she reported the incident to the deans of her program, but nothing was done, so she left.
That wasn't a safe lab environment for me to work in anymore, and I knew that I had to take action myself.
Nancy and 2 other academic workers at UC San Diego say they are all ending their dreams to become professors one day after working for hostile lab supervisors.
Nobody wants to continue working there.
Postdoctoral researcher Matthias Deutsch says both he and his wife have been yelled at and belittled repeatedly by the professor they worked for. Matthias plans to quit tomorrow.
My wife, she already left, and I will leave soon.
But because the pair from Germany is in the U.S. on a visa issued by UCSD, he says the supervisor used that against them and constantly threatened to fire them to send the couple back to Europe.
It's a very threatening experience. It's super stressful.
Matthias filed a complaint to UCSD 3 months ago, but says nothing changed. Physics teaching assistant of 5 years, Marco Tang, complained of faculty bullying as well.
I just don't have any faith right now in the current system that even though we know something is wrong, no department staff, no officer in the UCSD or UC system is actually going to help.
All 3 are part of the UAW Academic Workers Union, which represents 48,000 students and researchers for all UC schools. They are currently in negotiations with UC and are demanding that anti-bullying measures be included in their next contract. In a response, a statement from UC San Diego says, the health, well-being, and safety of our campus community members is our top priority. While we are not able to discuss specific incidents, all allegations of harassment and bullying are taken very seriously. Anyone experiencing harassment, discrimination, sexual and relationship violence, or stalking is encouraged to reach out to UC San Diego's Office for the Prevention of Harassment and Discrimination.
The UAW academic workers and UC attorneys meet weekly via Zoom to negotiate. The union workers hope to have a fair contract resolved by this fall. Heather Hope, CBS 8.